Pain is inevitable. No matter who you are, no matter how prepared or positive you try to be, life will challenge you. Disappointment will show up. Loss will knock on your door. Plans will fall apart. That is not a sign that something is wrong with you or your path. That is simply the human experience. But here is where everything changes. Progress is a choice, and that choice is available to you in every single moment. Most people allow pain to define them. They let it shrink their confidence, lower their standards, and justify staying stuck as staying stuck. They replay the story, magnify the hurt, and slowly begin to believe that pain is a stop sign. But high performers understand something different. Pain is not a prison. It's a signal. It's information. It's a signal. It's information. It's a call to rise. The moment pain enters your life, you stand at a crossroad. One path leads to excuses, resentment, and stagnation. The other leads to learning, growth, and forward momentum. No one can walk that second path for you. Progress doesn't come from wishing the pain away. It comes from deciding that the pain will not have the final word. Final word. Progress begins when you take ownership. Not blame, ownership. Ownership says, well, I may not have chosen this pain, but I choose my response. It means refusing to give your power away to circumstances, people, or the past. When you claim responsibility for your next move, you reclaim your ability to grow. Pain often strips away illusion. It exposes where you've been settling, avoiding, or playing small. And while that exposure can feel uncomfortable, it is also a gift. It shows you what must change. Progress requires honesty, and pain is brutally honest. It tells you what habits are no longer serving you, what boundaries you failed to set, and what standards you allowed to slip. Choosing progress means raising those standards again and again, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. It means showing up with discipline when motivation is gone. It means keeping promises to yourself when no one is watching. That is how pain gets transformed into strength, through consistent, intentional action. Progress also demands perspective. Pain wants to narrow your focus, to make the moment feel permanent. But growth requires you to zoom out. This chapter is not the whole story. What you are going through is shaping who you are becoming. The skills, resilience, and self-trust you build now will serve you long after this pain fades. This pain fades. When you choose progress, you ask better questions. Not a why is this happening to me, but who must I become because of this? Not a how do I escape this, but how do I use this? Those questions shift you from victimhood to leadership of your own life. Remember this. Every meaningful breakthrough is preceded by discomfort. Every next level requires a version of you that didn't exist before. Pain is often the doorway to that next level. You don't have to love it, but you do have to decide what it will produce. So choose progress. Choose growth over bitterness. Choose discipline over despair. Let pain refine you, not define you, because while pain may be inevitable, the life you build from it is completely in your hands. Most people don't get stuck because life is too hard. They get stuck because they keep asking the wrong questions. The quality of your life is shaped by the quality of the questions you ask yourself, especially in moments of pressure, disappointment, and pain. When something goes wrong, the mind automatically asks, why is this happening to me? And while that question feels natural, it often traps you in frustration, blame, and helplessness. That question looks backward. It searches for fault, not growth. It pulls you into stories that drain your energy instead of directing your power. And the longer you stay there, the more you reinforce the idea that life is happening to you instead of being shaped by you. High performers shift the question. They don't deny the pain. They don't pretend everything is fine, but they refuse to let the moment define their identity. Instead of asking why, they ask, what's this here to teach me? That single shift changes everything. It moves you from reaction to intention, from confusion to clarity, from survival to strategy, from survival to strategy. When you ask better questions, your brain starts searching for better answers. Suddenly, you're no longer scanning for excuses. You're scanning for lessons. You begin to notice patterns. You recognize where you need to grow, what skills you must strengthen, and what mindset must evolve. Pain becomes information. Challenge becomes feedback. Another powerful question is, how is this happening for me? Not to me. That question doesn't mean the situation is easy or fair. It means you trust that growth is possible even here. It opens your mind to opportunity inside adversity. It reminds you that every struggle carries the potential to develop resilience, wisdom, and depth. Shifting the question also puts you back in control. You may not control the event, but you always control the meaning you assign to it. And meaning drives emotion. Emotion drives action. Emotion drives action. When you change the meaning, you change your future behavior. That's how transformation begins. Ask yourself, who must I become to rise above this? That question forces growth. It calls you forward. It calls you forward. It challenges you to elevate your habits, your standards, and your identity. It asks you to lead yourself, not comfort yourself. Progress demands a stronger version of you, and that question helps you step into it. There is also power in asking, what is one action I can take right now? Not tomorrow, not tomorrow, not when things feel better. Right now. Momentum is built through small, intentional steps. Action creates confidence. Confidence creates clarity. And clarity fuels forward motion. The questions you repeat become the instructions your mind follows. If you keep asking disempowering questions, you'll keep living disempowered answers. But when you consciously shift your questions, you shift your life. You train your mind to look for solutions, strength, and possibility, even under pressure. Remember, growth doesn't come from avoiding hard moments. It comes from engaging them wisely. The right question turns chaos into direction. It turns pain into progress. And it turns an ordinary moment into a defining one. So the next time life challenges you, pause, breathe, and choose a better question. Because when you change the question, you change the question, you change the path. And that path leads forward. Growth is not about avoiding difficulty. It's about adapting to it. Life will not stay predictable. Circumstances will change. Plans will collapse. People will disappoint you. And in those moments, the question is never whether you are capable, it's whether you are capable. It's whether you are willing to adjust. Because real growth comes from adaptation. Most people resist change. They cling to old habits, old identities, and old strategies even when those things no longer work. They hope the world will return to how it used to be. But high performers understand a powerful truth. Flexibility is strength. The ability to adapt is what allows you to survive pressure and turn it into progress. Adaptation begins with awareness. You have to notice what is no longer serving you. The routines that once fueled your success may now be limiting your potential. The mindset that once protected you may now be holding you back. Growth requires the courage to say, this version of me got me here, but it won't get me where I want to go. When challenges arise, pain often signals the need for change. It exposes gaps in skills, discipline, or perspective. Instead of seeing that as failure, adaptive people see it as feedback. They ask, what must I learn now? And how must I adjust? That mindset turns obstacles into training grounds. Adaptation also demands emotional maturity. It means regulating your reactions instead of being ruled by them. When things go wrong, it's easy to panic, shut down, or lash out. But growth happens when you pause, breathe, and choose a more effective response. Emotional control allows you to think clearly, make better decisions, and stay aligned with your long-term vision. Progress favors those who are willing to experiment. Adaptation is not about having all the answers. It's about being willing to try new approaches. You test, refine, and improve. You learn what works and let go of what doesn't. Each adjustment makes you stronger, wiser, and more capable. Growth through adaptation also requires humility. You must be willing to admit when something isn't working. You must release the need to be right and embrace the need to improve. Pride keeps you stuck. Humility moves you forward. When you stay teachable, life becomes your greatest mentor. Who's the greatest mentor? Adaptation reshapes identity. Every time you adjust your behavior, mindset, or standards, you are becoming someone new. You're building resilience. You're developing self-trust. You're proving to yourself that you can evolve under pressure. That proof builds confidence, not the loud kind, but the quiet, unshakable kind. Remember, the goal is not to return to comfort. The goal is to grow capacity. Life will continue to demand more from you, more clarity, more discipline, more courage. And adaptation is how you rise to meet those demands. But those who grow the most are not the ones with the easiest paths, but the ones who adjust the fastest. They don't break when life changes, they evolve. And in that evolution, they unlock their next level. So when life shifts, don't resist it, adapt. Because growth is not found in staying the same, it is found in becoming more. When life gets uncomfortable, most people instinctively run. They distract themselves, avoid the truth, numb the feelings, or look for the fastest escape. But growth never comes from running. Growth comes from running. Growth comes from learning. Every challenge, every setback, every moment of discomfort is carrying a lesson, and the only question is whether you are brave enough to stay present long enough to receive it. Running may give you temporary relief, but it always comes at a cost. That's it, cost. What you avoid today will return tomorrow, often stronger and louder. Patterns repeat until lessons are learned. High performers understand this, which is why they lean in when things get hard. They don't ask, how do I get away from this? They ask, what is this here to teach me? Say, what is this here to teach me? Learning begins with stillness. You have to slow down enough to observe what's really happening. What emotions are coming up? What triggered them? What belief is being challenged? Pain often reveals misalignment between who you say you want to be and how you are actually living. That awareness is uncomfortable, but it's powerful. When you choose to learn instead of run, you reclaim your power. You move from reaction to reflection. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances and start seeing yourself as a student of life. And life is an extraordinary teacher if you're willing to listen. Learning requires honesty, not the surface level kind, but the deep, uncomfortable truth. Where did you ignore the signs? Where did you lower your standards? Where did you avoid responsibility? These questions aren't meant to shame you, they're meant to free you. Clarity always precedes change. There is also learning in emotional pain. Discomfort often highlights unmet needs, unspoken boundaries, or values that were compromised. Instead of pushing those feelings away, examine them. Ask what they're pointing to. Emotions are data. When you interpret them wisely, they guide you toward healthier choices and stronger self-respect. Choosing to learn means staying engaged even when it's easier to quit. It means doing the inner work, adjusting habits, strengthening discipline, and refining mindset. Growth is not dramatic. It's deliberate. It happens in the quiet decisions to show up, reflect, and improve. Learning transforms pain into wisdom. Wisdom changes behavior, and changed behavior creates progress. This is how struggle becomes strength. This is how setbacks become stepping stones. When you stop running, you also build resilience. You prove to yourself that you can face difficulty without breaking. That confidence compounds, the next challenge feels lighter. Not because it is easier, but because you are stronger. Remember, life is not punishing you, but you're preparing you. Every lesson you avoid delays your evolution. Every lesson you learn accelerates it. You don't need to escape the moment, you need to extract the meaning from it. So stay present, stay curious, stay committed to learning. Because the moment you stop running and start learning, you stop repeating the past and start creating the past and start creating a better future. When life gets hard, most people lower their standards. They tell themselves, this is too much, I'll do better later, or I deserve a break. And while rest has its place, lowering your standards in moments of struggle is one of the fastest ways to stay stuck. High performers do the opposite. When pressure rises, they raise their standards. Because struggle is not a signal to retreat, it's a signal to lead yourself more powerfully. Standards are the invisible rules you live by. They shape how you show up when no one is watching. Anyone can perform when life is easy. Character is revealed when it's difficult. In those moments, the question becomes, will you drift into excuses or will you anchor yourself to discipline? Raising your standards doesn't mean being harsh with yourself. It means being intentional. It means deciding, even now, I will keep my word. Even now, I will act with integrity. Even now, I will do the basics at a high level. Those choices create stability in chaos. They give you something solid to stand on when everything else feels uncertain. Totsutsu. Struggle exposes gaps. It reveals where your habits are weak, where your focus slips, and where your boundaries collapse. Instead of seeing that as failure, see it as feedback. This is your opportunity to refine how you live. Higher standards close those gaps. They demand better routines, clearer priorities, and stronger self-respect. When you raise your standards, you stop negotiating with your lower self. You stop asking, do I feel like it? And start asking, what does excellence require right now? Progress is rarely about intensity. It's about consistency. And consistency is built by standards, not motivation. There is also a deep confidence that comes from holding the line during hard times. Every time you show up when it's difficult, you send yourself a powerful message. I can be trusted. That self-trust becomes momentum. It carries you forward long after the struggle has passed. Raising your standards in struggle also shifts your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who reacts to life and start seeing yourself as someone who leads. You become the kind of person who doesn't collapse under pressure, but clarifies under it. That identity change is transformational. This doesn't mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means honoring your future more than your discomfort as comfort. Oh, it means choosing long-term growth over short-term relief. The strongest people aren't those who never struggle. They're the ones who refuse to abandon themselves during struggle. Remember, your standards determine your ceiling. If you lower them in hard times, you lower your future. But if you raise them, you rise. You build discipline, resilience, and character, the traits that create lasting success. So when life tests you, don't shrink. Step up. Decide who you are in this moment. Because the way you show up in struggle is the way you shape your destiny. Pain is energy. It may not feel like it in the moment, but every emotion carries power. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise is not the absence of pain. It's how they use it. Most people let pain drain them. High performers learn to channel it. They turn pain into fuel. Pain gets your attention for a reason. It signals that something matters, that something needs to change. When you ignore it, you waste its power. When you lean into it with intention, pain becomes one of the strongest motivators you'll ever have. It sharpens focus, clarifies priorities, and awakens a deeper sense of purpose. Using pain as fuel begins with ownership. Not blame, not denial. Ownership, not blame, not denial. You say, this hurts and I won't let it break me. I will let it build me. I will let it build me. That decision alone transforms pain from a weight into a resource. You stop asking for comfort and start demanding growth. Pain can drive discipline. When motivation fades, emotion can carry you forward. The frustration of being stuck, the disappointment of falling short, the ache of unrealized potential, these feelings can push you to train harder, focus deeper, and commit stronger. Pain reminds you that staying the same is no longer acceptable. There is also clarity in pain. It strips away distractions and exposes what truly matters. When things fall apart, you see which goals are real and which were just convenient. You recognize which relationships deserve your energy and which habits must be released. Pain simplifies. It tells the truth. It tells the truth. Tells the truth. Using pain as fuel requires direction. Unchanneled pain becomes anger, bitterness, or self-sabotage. Directed pain becomes drive. You must decide where to aim that energy. Into learning, into service, into building something meaningful. Purpose gives pain a place to go. Pace to go. Ease to go. Pain also deepens empathy and strength. When you've struggled, you understand others better. You lead with compassion instead of ego. That depth makes you more impactful, more grounded, and more resilient. Pain doesn't just grow your capacity to endure, it grows your capacity to endure. It grows your capacity to contribute. Every great transformation is fueled by a moment where staying the same hurt more than changing. Pain creates that moment. It draws a line and says, this is where you decide. When you choose to move forward, pain becomes the spark that ignites action. That ignites action. Remember, fuel doesn't disappear when you use it. It converts into movement. The pain you carry today can become the momentum that carries you into your next level. You don't need to wait until it passes. You need to use it while it's present, so don't numb it. Don't waste it, so don't numb it. Don't waste it. Don't let it turn into regret. Channel it. Let pain push you to show up stronger, live with higher standards, and commit to the life you know you're capable of creating. Because when you use pain as fuel, nothing is wasted, and everything moves forward.